I have the honor of introducing our fearless leader. She joined Solid Ground as Chief Executive Officer in January 2021. During her time with Solid Ground, she's helped the organization move through and recover from the COVID pandemic, launched a new compensation model, and unveiled a new strategic plan. She's brought with her a rejuvenated agency focus that melds coalition building with deep commitment to intersectional economic justice. She is the board president of the Washington State Community Action Partnership and serves on the Community Roots Housing Board. I think y'all know who I'm talking about, so I want you to give a very robust welcome as we bring to the stage Shalimar Gonzales.
Well, these lights are bright. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Sasha. It's so good to see you all here. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge that Solid Ground cannot achieve our mission to end poverty without changing our relationship to the indigenous peoples of this land. When our board of directors formally adopted our land acknowledgement, we also pledged to put words into action by building deeper relationships with the Duwamish, Coast Salish, and other indigenous stewards of this land and work to repair colonial impacts. We recently put together a booklet that amplifies indigenous histories of the lands we occupy as an organization. And that space includes our housing campus at Madison Park, our Wallingford offices, Mara Farm, and our transportation base, both located in South Park, and our former program site at North Seattle College. You can grab one on your way out, and you can also scan this QR code to grab that digital copy. So definitely looking forward to you all taking a look at that. It's a beautiful, beautiful publication, and I hope you share it with your friends and family. This is just one way that Solid Ground is keeping our commitment to remain deeply rooted in community and elevate the voices and stories of those that have been traditionally excluded. And that work has become even more urgent as of late. We currently live in a time when there are very real threats to the institutions and values we once took for granted. Now, y'all know that I prefer simplicity over nuance, so I'm just gonna be blunt when I say this. There are a lot of things happening in our nation's capital and across the country today that pose a grave threat to the freedom and well-being of each and every one of us, especially communities that are often the most vulnerable and marginalized, even in the best of times. The onslaught of unilateral executive orders, funding cuts, mass firings coming from the White House has the potential to rapidly erode our community's ability to keep our most vulnerable neighbors fed, housed, and healthy. In the last few weeks, there's been a direct attack on nonprofits with an executive order suggesting that we can be deemed a terrorist organization at the whim of this administration. And although we do not know what will come next, what we do know is this: we have entered a time that demands courage from all of us. And for Solid Ground, this means that we will not capitulate in the face of threats from our federal government. Our commitment to countering racism and other forms of oppression is literally written in our DNA. And we have no intention of backing away from this work, not now and not ever. We will not agree to federal requests that are not aligned with our values. We won't sign federal contracts that require us to put participant information into a national database to check immigration status. And we won't stop fighting for critical basic services like SNAP and affirmative health care, Section 8 housing vouchers. And we won't stop funding our employee resource groups and our DEI training. Four years ago, when I joined Solid Ground, I thought that leading an organization through a global pandemic would be the most challenging thing I would ever do. And now I'm on stage being super critical of the federal government. But at the end of the day, we got through that pandemic together. And now we will come together again because we cannot be silent with this administration as it continues to harm those who need us the most. But if there's one thing that the pandemic has taught me, is that there is something that we can all rely on. We can rely on each other. We can rely on each other for a helping hand. We can rely on each other for guidance and encouragement. And we can rely on our partners like you all in this room today to support us. Because even with all of these challenges, Solid Ground remains committed to building pathways beyond poverty. This means providing safe shelter for a family fleeing domestic violence. It means growing fresh fruits and vegetables so that our community remains nourished and fed. And it means providing transportation for folks with disabilities so that they may get to their appointments on time. It means joining forces against injustices, so hopefully our kids won't have to. It means modeling for the next generation the power of being ruthless to systems and kind to people. That's a Michael Brooks quote, by the way. Please don't attribute that to me. He's a very smart man. So like Sasha mentioned, I started my professional career in youth work. I had the privilege of launching and running a program called Queer Rec, where we did things like hiking and skating and like snowboarding and climbing trees and all sorts of things. Risk management was always very concerned about this program. But basically whatever these kids wanted to do, we did it. And that was because we wanted them to have a space where they could be their full, true, authentic selves. And although I'll never be able to fully articulate the hundreds of hateful emails and voicemails and letters that the organization received because of this program, I will always remember what it felt like when the CEO said publicly that a program like Queer Rec was just as much aligned with the organization's values as any of its other offerings. So with that in mind, Solid Ground is prioritizing and deepening our youth development work. Youth development is something that Solid Ground has been doing for decades. And when we were building our most recent strategic plan, the community identified that this work was critically important. We fully believe that we cannot fight poverty without breaking the cycle of generational poverty. Over the next 5 years, Solid Ground will continue to invest in and build out our youth development portfolio so that young folks will have the same sense of support and safety that I received 20 years ago when I started my career.